Hello guys, welcome to Daddy Share Space and welcome to my channel. So I'm just getting off work and I decided to go ahead and do my recording of the Daddy Share Space episode on my way home to be a little bit more efficient, because right now the shop is in disrepair. I've been moving a bunch of stuff around, and so the garage shape is kind of like it's a big square, like a two-car garage with a little bit of an extension on one side. So facing the garage that's on the left, there's that extension in the back. And currently the way I have it set up, I have most of the shop stuff back in that back corner. And I think I'm going to have to shift it around because I had some stuff that came out of the house that needs to go more like in storage, if you will. So some of my shop space is going to be taken up with storage. So what I'm thinking about doing is moving my shop more to the front of the garage by the two doors, and then moving all the storage to that back area. So that's going to take some time to get sorted. Right now it's difficult to even move around in there. So I got to do that. Still got to get this air conditioning fixed. And beyond that, I woke up this morning to a notification from Woodpecker. So apparently they have made a stainless steel T-square. Now, if you've watched my channel, you know that I ordered the aluminum T-square. It should be coming sometime this week. And I'm happy with my purchase. I don't feel any kind of FOMO regarding this new T-square that's out. So anyways, I looked at the T-square and I thought that it might have been fake because it looks different. It looks, I don't know. I mean, it looks different. It's a different design language from their aluminum T-square. And one of the things that I noticed right off the bat is that it didn't have the little wings that would allow it to set on top of your stock. Now, in the video that they showed, it was sitting flat on the material, and it does offer all of the different marking points where you can use a pen, you can use a pencil, you can use a marker, you can use all kinds of different things to mark. It's very similar to the stainless steel squares that I already have in the shop. So I see that added functionality, which is cool. And my first thought, looking at the design, was I was thinking it probably doesn't come in a 32-inch length. Well, around my lunchtime, I was able to go ahead and look it up, and it does come in the 32-inch length. And the price right now, I guess the regular price is going to be $199, but as a degree of a pre-order, maybe to stir up interest, it is being offered for $179. Now, as I've mentioned before on my channel, I wanted to get BenchDogs tools for all my metric type tools. And for whatever reason, the metric tools are shorter, whether Woodpecker makes it or benchdogs.co.uk makes it. The metric versions are shorter, maybe because it's even increments. So a 26-inch square, a stainless steel square from Woodpecker, if you look for that equivalent, if you will, in BenchDogs, it's a 600 millimeter square. Likewise, if you look at the aluminum T-square in the Woodpecker's version, it's 32 inches, and now their new stainless steel is 32 inches. However, the longest stainless steel square currently offered on BenchDog's site is 610 millimeters, which is like, I believe, just under 24 inches or something like that, close to 24 inches. Now, personally, and this is just purely aesthetics, not functionality, I like the BenchDogs version. It has the lips to where it'll sit flush on your stock, and it also has that stainless steel blade with all of the openings so you can use all kinds of markings or whatever. I hope to pick that up in the future so that I can display it on the channel at some point in time. It just depends on how things work out. Now, as I mentioned, I don't feel any issue with the fact that I ordered the aluminum T-square and now the stainless steel comes out like just a few days later. I don't feel like I missed out on anything because, just being honest, I'm not a big fan of the new Woodpecker's design. I like the design of the aluminum wood square or T-square. I don't like the design that they chose for the stainless steel. Now, that's probably not going to do anything in regards to the functionality. Now, as I said, I'm curious to see how they got it to balance where it sits flat on your stock without tipping left or right. Who knows? It could be some type of engineering. I didn't see, like, if you look at their indexing squares, they have like a little lip that you can push out or push away so that the square will sit flat on your stock. I didn't see that displayed in the video, so who knows if that is the case. You should go over and check out the new Woodpecker T-Square, the stainless steel version, and then go over to benchdogs.co.uk and look at their offering, and decide for yourself which one you think is more aesthetically pleasing to you. Anyway, so that's all as far as that kind of news. Now, as I'm driving home, kind of reconfiguring my mindset in regards to switching the shop around and I'm trying to get this shop in a way where it's most functional for me. And honestly, I feel like I failed overall, because say for instance, if I would have pulled my 91 Saab in the garage, which is currently not running, then for the time that basically from when it went down to now, I would have not been able to do any kind of woodworking videos, especially any woodworking videos that involve my 4-foot by 8-foot MFT. It would have been very difficult to pull off with the car in the garage, especially if it was taken apart and I'm working on it. So that being said, that's one of the reasons why I was considering getting some folding tables, maybe doing away with my 4-foot by 8-foot MFT and getting folding tables, like whether it be Festool, Benchdog, or Dashboard, because then I can put the tables away. But then also, if I decided I wanted to do a quick project outside, I could do it outside. I've even looked into some of these like air tents that you can hook it to some kind of an air pump and it blows up and gives you a big tent. And I've been thinking, like, I wonder if I could get away with doing some kind of woodworking, some minor stuff in a tent like that, which would kind of expand my space when I needed it. However, when I had the canopy that I was using outside, I took a board out there and I didn't notice that it had a pocket hole sticking out of the top, and I moved it past the canopy and it just split the canopy wide open. So, you have to be mindful of that if you're talking about using a tent, or especially one that that's inflatable or whatever. The inflatable capability would make it more convenient. However, as I said, you have to be worried about puncturing something, especially if you're using like tools with blades on them in a environment like that. Anyways, it's I don't know. It's been a challenge. It's a challenge trying to keep up with doing woodworking type skills when you have a space that needs to be shared with all kinds of other tasks and stuff like that. And then you also have to remember, in this time and season, you don't want to have a whole lot of stuff stored around your house or out and around your house, simply because insurance companies are very restrictive at these times or whatever. They're very concerned about controlling their risk and stuff like that. So you don't want to have a whole bunch of stuff out and about around your home. And these days they're actually, from my understanding, they use drones to look at the property to make sure that there's not any kind of violations that would give them the ability to like drop coverage. So with that being in mind, whereas before I may have been a little bit more open-minded about, building like outdoor sheds and stuff like that, now I've kind of, restricted myself solely to the garage, simply because, I'm not trying to cause any trouble for myself or whatever the case may be. That seems like an unnecessary issue. As a matter of fact, one of the doctors that I was working with was talking about building a pergola in her backyard, and I kind of mentioned to her, I was like, and she was talking about doing it, I believe, without going through all the proper, like permitting, not trying to do anything dodgy or whatever. But, sometimes people think about putting things up on their property, and they don't even know that, if you should pull a permit or if you shouldn't. And, I just happen to share the information that I learned on YouTube about how, insurance companies are sending over drones, they're raising insurance rates, tax rates are going up, so on and so forth. As long as we need insurance, you have to play within those rules in order to, protect your property and such like that. It's super challenging to be going through, life always seems to send us curveballs, and I don't know if that's true of you. I mean, I would assume it is, but I know for myself, I'm always looking up and there's some kind of new challenge or something like that that's basically throwing me off my, my goals or my agenda or my task. I'm thankful for the fact that for the most part, I don't have a lot of issues that get in the way of my primary employment, that being as a registered nurse. I make sure that I'm at work on time every day, even if I have to leave early, and I minimize any type of time missed from work. Basically, I don't get any time off for myself. I only get time off if my children or my wife are sick. And so, other than that, I'm at work, fulfilling my obligation to my employer. So in my off time, I've been fighting to try to find an efficient, effective way to get things done to where I can progressively move towards the goals and check off the responsibility boxes that I have just being an adult. And I just find that life in general is just, it doesn't care about your plans. It doesn't care about you accomplishing your goals. It's every time you turn around, there's something setting you back. And, honestly, that's another reason why I even got into this whole, like, whether it be DIY, and now the woodworking type stuff, is simply because, at the end of the day, I honestly, as much money as you guys may see me spend on tools, I know that if I was to pay professional money for the things either that I've done myself or whatever, I would be in debt. And I understand it because, it's the logistics of having a business. If someone has a business, especially if they have a brick and mortar store and they have insurance, they have to pay those fees every single, month or every 2 weeks, however they pay. And they need to bring in a certain degree of profit in order to keep their business and their company going. And, I respect that. I got that. But as a regular consumer, as a consumer who's fighting very hard day in and day out to stay out of any kind of excessive debt. As I said, the only kind of debt that I think is okay is if you own a home or something like that. That's just my personal opinion. Anything outside of that, like I would not go in debt for a vacation. I would not go in debt for any kind of frivolous purchase, not even for a car at this season. Now, who knows, in the future, that stuff may change because at the end of the day, I know at least here in California, they're really intent on trying to, get everybody into an electric vehicle, which, I am not even going to lie. I'm not super thrilled about that for various reasons. But the reality of the matter is the way our economy works based off of consumerism is, I'm speaking from my own testimony. I'm not speaking about anyone else but me. I feel like it's kind of putting a it's putting a noose around my neck. My iPhone, the screen is cracked. I reached out to the insurance company or through my carrier to get it repaired because it's obviously out of warranty. It's an iPhone 10, which is like about 7 years old. And they only want to charge me $29 to fix it. But I got all the way through the process to get it repaired. And at the end, it makes you like check this box that basically says that there's a chance that functions that were working on the device will no longer work. And I've watched people that repair, that fight for the right to repair and all of that type of stuff. And they talk a lot about how, companies like Apple may, make their devices to where a third party can't fix them. And if they do fix them, then the full functionality of the device is no longer realized. And so when I looked at that, that gave me pause. So I didn't submit the upgrade or the repair because I'm like, well, You know, what if, like, say for instance, if I use Face ID, what if the Face ID doesn't work anymore because I get the screen fixed, right? That's a feature that I paid for. Now, yes, I'll have a proper screen, but I'm losing functionality, or whatever feature is not going to work. I don't know which one it is or isn't, but the reality of the matter is I really, that gives me pause, right? That lets me know that they're not using proper components to fix the device, or the ones that are Apple approved. And so then I'm asking myself, why am I paying this insurance if it's not going to make me completely whole? So I reach out to Apple, and I end up finding out it's going to be like, I don't know, $270, $280 to replace the screen on this 7-year-old phone. And this phone itself is going to no longer be supported, I think, next year. Like, it's going to have no support at all. So I've held pat with my cracked screen phone, and I'm not really in the market to want to buy a new phone, because, I mean, my newest phone is my Surface Duo, and that thing I've showed on video, the whole body is cracked up. And it kind of, you know, I'm going to be honest. I know people like premium phones, but I feel like, and I might be the only one that thinks like this, I don't need my phone to look amazing, right? I'm okay with going back to a polycarbonate phone as long as it functions in, you know, like with today's type of technology. I don't need a glass back and a glass front. They had wireless charging with polycarbonate devices before, right? I think that they should have some polycarbonate devices out there that, you know, that bring down from this premium price and this premium aesthetic. Because, you know, when I look at that and coupled with, like, say, the folding phones, it just seems to me that these phones are overly delicate, right? And it's just, you know, they're not going to last forever. You know, I mean, plain talk, bad manners, they're like a very expensive paper plate. Once you use it, it's done for. And, you know, even though, like, if you think about it, if you buy a phone, a brand new phone today, and then you put a case on it to protect it so it's in pristine condition. If you want to trade it back in, you need to keep it in pristine condition. If you have an iPhone 15, I think one at the top of the line this year, and you trade it in on an iPhone 16, they're only going to give you like $400 for that, right? So you get $400 for something that you may have paid $1,500 or $1,800 for, right? And so that's a huge deficit right there. And we know these companies, they're going to take that phone that you kept in good working order, right, and sell it in some other country at a premium price, and it's going to work totally fine. So then why doesn't it work totally fine for us here, right? Like, if my iPhone, if I was to trade it in, I looked it up maybe last year or the year before, I think they would give me something like $100, if that, or $50 for my phone. I paid like $1,300 with the insurance for that phone. Why? I mean, like, why am I buying an item that I don't care if it's 7 years old? Why am I buying an item that updates can be forced to it to either brick it or make it less functional, right? And then after a certain amount of time, it's only worth $50. Like, that is disposable, man. And even if you trade your phone in, like, say, every year, every 2 years, then how do we call it phone ownership? It's like we have all the responsibilities of ownership, but not a lot of the benefits of ownership, because in reality, what you're being sold is the access to the software and the applications that the device can do or interact with, not really the device. Because, you know, you're given this device that you pay, like, if you paid full price for it, and then a year or two later, you're going to start to lose features by design, which means that either you have to go back to the, you know, to paying a new payment plan, or buy another one cash, which, you know, think about it. If you make about $100,000 a year and you buy a top of the line iPhone, top of the line Samsung, you're talking about 2% of your income. And so then if you are a husband and wife or a couple and you make $100,000 a year, then now you're talking about, if you buy both of you a top of the line phone, you're talking about 4% of your income. That's a lot of money to be thinking about spending annually. And I know you don't have to get a phone annually. I do realize that, but the reality is, it's like, well, every year your phone is degrading as far as functionality, quality, and usability, right? So you're paying for a diminishing asset. and you're paying a premium price. You know, I remember when you used to get these phones on like a 2-year contract, and the most expensive phone was like $500 or $600. Now we're paying upwards of $1,800. Now you're paying $500 or $600, you know, or $700 for a budget phone. You know, obviously because of inflation, but obviously because they've been able to shift the cost over to the consumer, which is, you know, I mean, dude, it's crazy. I mean, like, I know there are people out there buying these phones, and more power to them. You know, a lot of people are financing these phones. You know, when I went to my wife's watch, she has a Series 3 Apple Watch. My Series 3 gave up the ghost a while ago, so I upgraded to this Ultra watch. But my wife's watch, she goes to put it on one day, and the screen just lifts up off of it. It just like became unadhered, right? And so then, of course, it's suffering from ghost touching and all that. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll go get you a watch. So I told her to wait a few days until the Apple Watch 10 came out, and she did. And then we went ahead and I bought her the Apple Watch 10, brought it home, not compatible, because our phones, the iPhone 10, does not upgrade past iOS 16. And you need to be iOS 18 to use these newer watches. So we looked it up online, and we found that I think it was the SE Generation 2, allegedly, per what we saw on Google, was compatible with the iPhone 10. So I go buy that, I go exchange it, get it home, and it doesn't work. Apparently there was a typo, and it was not the iPhone 10 that was the cutoff, it was the iPhone XS or 10S that was actually the cutoff for compatibility with any of the new watches that you can buy on the market today. So when I went into my local Best Buy and I was like, hey, you know, I need to return this watch because it's not compatible. And the lady was like, you know, like, well, what phone do you have? And I told her whatever. And then she was like, well, why don't you just get a new phone? And I simply said, because you're not buying it. And, you know, it's like people are so used to paying these high prices. I mean, it's crazy because when they first introduced the payment plan, I remember I first bought it. In the beginning, I bought into that too. I was thinking, oh, if I paid a small amount, $20, $30 a month, I could get a new phone every single year. That's how I felt about it. Now, of course, their payment plans made it to where it was about a year and a half. If you paid a little bit extra, you could technically get a new phone every year. Well, what happens? The prices just keep creeping up. And now you got people, if you want to get the high-end phone, because remember, the file sizes on the video and photos has increased, which leads to higher storage in the devices, or you can't store as much. And so you either A, store your stuff in the cloud, but then you got to pay extra money to store in the cloud, or you pay an exorbitant price for like a 1 terabyte phone so that you can store most of your stuff on device, right? And so these prices just keep going up and up. And now when I was looking it up, so if I was to get like, say, the top of the line iPhone with like, say, a 1 terabyte in storage or whatever, then I'm looking at close to, I don't know, it's maybe like $100 a month. But then you look at the payment plan, it's for 3 years. So we've gone from a 2-year contract to now, if you get caught up in one of these contracts with the phone where you pay as you go, and that's not even including insurance, that's just the price of the phone itself, you'll be stuck with that phone for 3 years. 3 years of paying like $100 a month. So then think about it, you know, or close to $100 a month. I'm just rounding. It may be 70, 80, but still, that's too close to 100 for me. So think about if you're paying $100 a month for you and your spouse. That's $200 a month. You know, like, that's a lot of money to be paying for a phone, especially in the end, when by the time you get to that 3-year mark, you will have lost so many features. And by that time, you know, if a 1-year phone only pulls $400 in resale, what about a 3-year phone? What about a 4-year phone? You're talking about $200. So you're still out, you're still losing handily. I'm feeling like stuff like these smartphones now, they honestly need to start making us money. I mean, if they're not making us money, if they're not putting money in our pocket to pay us, to pay these exorbitant prices, I don't think it's enough anymore to pay this money just to communicate to someone. I mean, I joke with my wife all the time. I want to go get two cans and a cord, and we could talk like that. or we can talk on a walkie-talkie, or we can write each other letters or something, because I feel like the cost of entry for these smartphones and stuff is just crazy. And the part that, nails it home is when you start to have all your devices start to fail. Like, I have an M1 Mac, and, I'm starting to see this start to affect in all of the ecosystems now. Well, especially it was happening on Windows too, so I can't say it's just Apple. To where now, all of a sudden, I got an Apple TV, like the 4K, and I have 2 of those Siri HomePods. And now just randomly, it won't connect. So I'm sitting there, like in my bedroom trying to watch a show, and one of the HomePods comes on, but the other one doesn't, right? And so you're going through this whole process of resetting, rebooting to get something to function, just for it to stop functioning 2-3 days later. Same thing on the iPad or whatever. I mean, not the iPad, my Mac. Now I notice when I'm using DaVinci Resolve and I put in my earbuds, like I can use my AirPod Max headphones or my iPod Pros, and when I'm trying to scroll through footage and listen to video, it's like staticky. It's not clear. When I take it off and just listen through the speakers on the device, it's perfectly fine. Why is this? Because as these products get older, they push updates, and these updates, whether intentional or not, degrade your experience. They don't freeze you in time where you are, where basically if you have an old iPad or an old pair of iPod Pros or old AirPod Max, to where it keeps working, it just breaks. It just breaks. There's no physical damage. It just breaks due to software updates. And that's where that's where I'm struggling with the whole idea of a friggin' electric car. Because to me, electric cars, I mean, $40,000, $50,000 worth of vehicle, right? $40,000, $50,000 for a vehicle, just for it to be forced updates to make it less usable. And I just feel like, I know that there are a large portion of individuals in America that are in debt. I understand that. I get that. And a lot of the people that I talk to that I know that are in debt, they just talk about it like it's just life. I've been out of debt for a while, right? And I don't really want to go back into debt. I don't really want to suffer that, because I know what it feels like to be cap strapped, to basically be paying the minimum payment on all of my credit cards and not have any financial flexibility. There's eventually an end to that. As an individual consumer, you don't have the right, like the federal government, to basically raise your own personal debt ceiling. There comes a point where there's a limit, and then you're either going to file bankruptcy or your quality of life is just going to go through the tank. Now, for the longest, because I would live well below my means, it gave me a lot of extra money to play with every month. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was able to get all the tools that I got. But now things are becoming more and more difficult to maintain. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it at the gas tank. I'm feeling it at the grocery store. And, whereas it was easy for me to buy these tools before and do these unboxings because, like I said, I could just stick within my allowance and go that route. Well, now I have to worry about the expenses of everything else creeping in and cutting my allowance down. Which, I know that's like a first world problem. I'm not, denying that, but I'm just saying, I feel it too. And I'm a person that does without a lot, meaning like, I don't go to restaurants. I don't go to movie theaters. There's a lot of things I don't do, which gives me the ability to buy a lot of the things that I have been buying. And, the benefit is I'm not in a lot of debt, right? I don't have any credit card debt. I don't have any loans, any car loans, nothing like that. And so I find that to be financially freeing, right? Whereas, some people are just, they don't have a choice but to be comfortable in debt. And I just, I feel like that's a very stressful way to live. I know a lot of people are there, and I feel for them, you know what I'm saying? Because we get bamboozled and tricked, even from college when they're giving you out their little starter credit cards, and it gets you in the habit of buying stuff without thinking about the consequences. Anyways, guys, I just got home, so I'm probably going to wrap this video up here. I will, if I have anything else to say, I'll do another video. But anyways, I want to thank you for taking time to watch the video, and I'll see you in my next one.